I've ended up standing at the top of a 130-foot tower, getting ready to jump off.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And unfortunately I've heard that more times than I wish is
yeah,
the case. That the level of stress. I mean, you also have it celebrated in parts of the community. People joking about having like a stress induced tick. Or,
yeah. And we believe we can do it all ourselves. And one of the things that I hear so often is that it's lonely. Entrepreneurship is
Mhm.
lonely, right? Because I think you go through this process of, yeah, okay, so let me tell my wife about it. Let me tell my kids about it. And after the third conversation, the eyes glaze over. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you go and you can't speak to your staff about it, and you can't speak to your suppliers about it. And yeah, so what do you, yeah, what do you recommend in that kind of space?
Loneliness is huge. That's something else. It's fun because not only I think similarly to yourself, you're not only your own entrepreneur, but you're also talking to that's your clientele as well. That's the people that you're having on your podcast
Yeah.
and that you're interacting with. And I agree, it's a really fun bunch to be around. I'm also an entrepreneur, but working primarily as a therapist with entrepreneurs. And I agree with you on the positives. They are problem solvers. Really, I'd say positive individuals. Very, you have to be thinking glass is half full. You have to have this resilience that gets you back up again. The underbelly of that is that there can be a callousness that forms because holding that soft vulnerability while also the resilience to keep getting back after failure is a really hard dynamic to balance. And you mentioned loneliness. That I see that time and time again, because you can have a starting team or your first employees that are very passionate, but it's not their baby. And at the end
Yeah.
of the day, like, you're making decisions, and the stress that's weighing on you, they didn't put their mortgage on the line. They didn't make the sacrifices that you have as an entrepreneur. So it is extremely lonely. And
Yeah, you can go in, you can have a conversation, but having those deeper conversations about stress,
Mhm.
about how do I deal with stress? How do I kind of look after myself first? Because I think that the deeper part of this is, this is our baby, right? This is we birthed this baby, and and we want to see it do well, and we believe that we're doing this for our families. We believe we're doing this for the community, but often we put ourselves second.
Mhm.
So the level of stress that I've ended up in with this, I've ended up standing at the top of a 130-foot tower, getting ready to jump off.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And unfortunately that I've heard that more times than I wish is
yeah,
the case. That the level of stress. I mean, you also have it celebrated in parts of the community. People joking about having like a stress induced tick, or not being able to sleep, or having like bulging bloody veins in Silicon Valley. Like, it's almost seen as a badge of honor to show, how long have you gone without sleep or caring for yourself. And I'm fortunate to see that turning, where there
yeah,
is a focus a little bit more on the holistic health. Because if you do care for, let's keep going with the child metaphor. If you're not at least taking care of yourself to some degree, that child's not going to fare very well in
yeah,
the long term.
yeah. And I think there's something else that becomes a total disparity. We like you said, yeah, enthusiastic, positive, yeah, but there's a public facing face,
Mm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, which is all of those things. And because of the loneliness element, and not being able to share and not being able to, have that connection with people, it can be so lonely and it can be so debilitating when you can't get that stuff out, right? Yeah, when you have to sit with it, because you can't share it with your staff because they get worried. You can't share it with your family because they get worried, and you're trying to protect them, right? Yeah, this has been the thing for me. I've always been trying to protect those people that are. Yeah, I don't want them to start to think, okay, I'm not going to be able to pay payroll this month. Yeah, so you just carry that all yourself. So you end up with this environment where this thing that you started for freedom becomes your biggest prison, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. I think that also when you're in that deeply lonely place and trying to get things off the ground, trying to go for your first seed funding, or trying to prove yourself, and when time is really of the essence with scaling, people are also very vulnerable to manipulation. So there are a lot of executive coaches or folks that may not have the entrepreneur's best interest in mind, but because they feel this desperation and loneliness to feel heard personally as well as professionally, it can be a really dangerous time period as well if they don't have an outlet. And I'm not going to subscribe a certain outlet for every individual, but I do think that obviously I see the benefits of therapy. I also do recommend not only necessarily a co-founder, but like a strong co-founding team that is invested as well, so that it's not solely on one person's shoulders. I also love small groups for individuals, but I think that wherever you end up, whatever tools you end up using to get through these bads, it's also important to just name and speak to. And I love that you're able to own your story now, because being able to share out loud that it's not always sunny.
We're going into the AI space, right? And AI overwhelm is a very real thing.
Yes.
And but now there's these billion-pound companies that's got one founder,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and one person working there. I think there's not two that have come up and that have hit that mark.
Yep.
Yeah. So now, if you're starting a company now, what do you need? How do you actually gain uh, um, that connectivity, that human part that allows you to actually grow and scale, right? And you know, I spent a lot of time playing with AI. It's one of the things I do, and I know you do that as well. So
Yes.
how are you seeing this come into the space?
And really, in some ways, I see it the same as a calculator. This is it matters whose hands the tool is in, and it is a very exciting time. But when you think about companies, I'm actually working with a couple clients right now that were saying, oh, maybe we could draft an agent that can talk through personal struggles that people are having and give them prompt advice. So I think that there's a place for technology, and I think it can be really helpful in addition to relational dynamics. But I don't think that there's going to be anything that replaces human connection, personal connection. I think that's why people listen to your podcasts. I think it's because they are seeking out heart and soul and individuals, and not just a notebook LM telling them information.
AI is a 60% tool,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
And the challenge at the moment is people are seeing it as a 90% tool and trying to get it to do 90% of the stuff. We have to remain the architect. We have to know what it is we want. We have to treat it like any junior staff member.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we have to answer business problems with it. And I think what will come out of the wash in the next year or two is that if we can bring the human to the surface, if we can have those connections with our clients, with our suppliers, with our staff, if you've got a 10 user company or a 50 user company at the moment, and you can turn around and say, right, yeah, I'm not going to get rid of the human, I'm going to raise the human, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let these guys work 6 hours a day or 5 hours a day, and I'm going to do 20 times the volume. And we're just going to focus on the human element. Those are the companies that are going to go, right? Those companies that just lean on AI and say, you just do everything, they're going to feel, AI slop. You're going to be able to tell.
Yeah, and we as a society can tell already if there's something that feels a little bit off, if the human isn't kept in the loop. I also
When ChatGPT came out and I could talk to text, and that was effective, that suddenly started opening up, everything that I was able to do. So the possibility of writing a book became real. So I started started talking my stories in, and I realized that while people are very very nervous about doing an AI document or an AI book or an AI whatever it is, it's that level of 60% that you can do. The
yes.
60% tool that can help you. I've written my book. It's called Thinking Outside Your Brain with AI. And the amount of time and effort that I took to do it, yeah, was substantial. Yeah, it's 20 years worth of knowledge. But you have to bring that to everything. You have to bookend at the beginning and bookend at the end and the middle. Yeah, what is your project? What are you trying to do? How are you trying to get that out? And when you get it right, it's really empowering. This
Yeah,
talk to text and AI has actually given me my voice. It's
that's incredible.
given me okay. Yeah, I went and I did a book writing retreat in Florida sometime last year, and yeah, I'd gone through this process of talking my stories in and getting AI to get my spoken voice and then getting it to do my written voice, and yeah, that was but it wasn't quite touching. Yeah,
Mm,
it wasn't being emotional enough, right? Or I wasn't being emotional enough, and it wasn't that AI wasn't being emotional. My input wasn't emotional enough,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
And then I've been doing a program, and I met this amazing guy called Dennis Ross, and Dennis Ross he's a wordsmith of the most amazing capabilities, right? Yeah, he sits on this call. There were 2.5 hours, 100 people on the call, and everyone was crying. That's how powerful he was with words. And I was like, I really want to be able to do that because I want to be able to talk to my audience, right? But I don't have that skill. So how do I do that? And I went through the process of learning some of it. I spent some time learning it. Then I was like, okay, how can I get AI to use this skill that I know is out there that I need to help me
Yeah.
write in a better way? So
Mm-hmm.
I took my own stories. I spent hours and hours talking those stories in. And I was like, okay, I'm going to apply these principles from Dennis Ross to that. And I literally sat there and I read the first one, and it brought me to tears.
Wow.
My own story that I've been telling people for years and years and years. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And that to me is the power of AI. Is that it's not getting it to do it for you. It's getting it to massage what you have, yeah, to be closer to what you're trying to put out there. So if you were to give your entrepreneurs, the people you're speaking to, one bit of advice from a psychological point of view, right,
Mm-hmm.
from a point of view of how they look after themselves, yeah, what might that be?
I think that it's from a psychological point of view, but also good business practice is to show up authentically, to show up in the mess and in how it's working, and not be too afraid of being unpolished. I think that that's missed a lot, and it really connects to your consumers seeing the building, being brought into the building of something, as well as for yourself. If you're being disingenuous, if you are disintegrated from self, that leads to a really unhealthy place where you are going to a place of burnout without connecting into your body. So I think the more that you can just try to take somatic practices in, try to show up authentically, recognizing where you are, even if it's not great, and just being okay with what it is and not pushing for something else. Um, that's the healthiest practice I can imagine.
Well, Amanda, thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure
It's
talking
an
to you.
absolute pleasure. No, thank you, and I can't wait to read the book.